Alrighty, welcome in on this Friday and welcome back into the live desk. My name is Janae Hancock. I want to turn straight to the story for this morning that you should now be on your screen. A crime scene in Hays, Kansas divided investigators. 26-year-old Kristen Trickle. Now, she was found dying from a gunshot wound in 2019, but authorities didn't agree on how it happened until they came up with a new way, they say, to get at the truth. So that brings us to our guest for today. At 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, who is here with a preview. Erin, I want to thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk, taking the time out of your day to talk about this investigation and the story that's going to be airing this weekend. I want to start off with the first question. Now, prosecutors, they are moving forward with a psychological autopsy. Tell us a little bit more about what that is exactly and why it is so controversial, especially in this case.
Well, Janae, this was really a new one for me. And you know, I've been doing this for a long time. As you mentioned, Kristen Trickle had been found dead she had been dying and then died at the scene with a single gunshot wound under her chin. And it just wasn't clear to investigators. The husband said that it was a suicide, but there was evidence at the scene that made them question that. And so they decided to hire a psychologist to do what is called a psychological autopsy, an autopsy of the mind, where this person would talk to all the people who had known Kristen to try to determine what her state of mind was in the days, the weeks, and the hours leading up to her death. The problem, of course, is obvious. The one person who would know could not answer it, Kristen herself. And the defense really contested this because the autopsy was not done until almost 2 years after her death, when people's memories might not be as good as they were right afterwards.
And, you know, the coroner actually went to the scene back in 2019 and they determined that it was a suicide. I know in the sneak peek, the video there, one of the officials also saying that they saw her jaw moving and then she was just dead at the scene not too long after that. But why wasn't that the end of it after the coroner determined that it was a suicide?
Well, the coroner told us that what he judged this on was, he looked to see if she had any defensive wounds. She didn't. Whether there was any evidence of previous abuse, there wasn't. And he said he took the word of the husband, who said he woke up and she had shot herself. What happened, though, is, of course, after the months and weeks leading up to a trial, some of the new evidence came out. I believe investigators were really concerned about the changing of the stories the husband made, the fact that there was insurance on her and he had not told investigators about that, the fact that he was having an online flirtation. That was not something the coroner took into account because he made his determination just 3 days after her death.
And really, this is a case that shook the nation, but definitely shook our area, especially the Kansas area. What do you believe is the most damaging piece of evidence against Colby?
What makes this case really so interesting and troubling is that you really, when you look at the facts here, you can see how difficult it is sometimes to determine the difference between a homicide and a suicide. And then, unfortunately for the defendant, the husband, he changed his story so often. So in the end, it really was his own story and his continuing stories over the months that really turned out to be the most damaging evidence against him.
Erin, I want to thank you so much for joining me here at the live desk. I know that I am not the only one that will be looking forward to this story airing this weekend. I want to give our viewers another look at that of what you can expect. You can watch Kristen Trickle, Autopsy of the Mind, tomorrow, Saturday, April 27th on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.